Hey, Mistakes listeners, this is Dave, and welcome back. And hey, it's post-Thanksgiving, so it's time to get another show out, right? Um, this is episode 40. This episode is recorded on 12/6/2015 or December 6, 2015. This week we watched a show called All Hail King Julien, which is pretty crazy. Um, you can follow us on Twitter, as you know, and that would be at Twitter Parent Mistakes, and you can also follow us on Facebook at Parenting Mistakes. And as always, sit back and enjoy the show. So, did you get a lot of skin for Thanksgiving?
Oh. That's how you start the podcast?
Well, I was very eager. I was excited to talk to you about how much skin you got because you love skin.
I do love skin.
Yeah.
Particularly on Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah. Did you get lots?
I got a fair amount.
Oh, that's good. Did you actually go up to the turkey and just get skin and no meat?
I thought about it. I thought I should probably have just a little bit of dark meat protein, and yeah.
So we have a lot of traditions in our house.
Okay.
More than I thought, more than expected, because I think that we're pretty non-traditional, but we actually have a lot of things that we do every day. So I thought I'd reverse it on you.
Okay.
Talking about traditions, I'd give you a pop quiz, right?
Okay.
So what are the traditions that you guys have in your house, say, for Christmas as we're entering into the season?
Traditions for Christmas. Well...
Christmas traditions. Sorry, I didn't mean to turn your brain around there.
I
always think backwards, you know me, so...
Well, I suppose one tradition that we've established is that we swap families. Since I grew up in Seattle with you, and then married a California girl, we gather all of her family in California one year, and then we gather all of my family in Seattle the following year.
Right.
And when we're in Seattle, we have traditions of going downtown and riding the monorail and getting coffee at Westlake Mall and walking around and looking at the trains over at Seattle Center.
Okay. That's actually kind of a ritual, right?
Well,
there's sort of a procedure that occurs as you're going through that.
Well, we're gonna differentiate between rituals and traditions. Don't they overlap sometimes?
I think they do overlap. Totally.
Okay.
Totally. You know,
Right.
Ritual has always got the little stigmatism to it, though, like doing something weird, right?
Yes.
But traditions. We'll stick with traditions. So here's part 2 of my pop quiz.
Okay.
A lot of people say that traditions are good for kids. Why?
Okay.
I'm trying to be simple. I'm not trying to do one of the big, gigantic Dave Kidney questions.
Well, let's see. We could attack that a couple different ways. I suppose there is value in establishing the idea of routine because that allows for structure.
Yes.
I would say in a more philosophical sense, in terms of establishing can't talk this morning.
Establishing.
That's
right.
I guess I would see traditions as, in a big picture way, pointing towards the importance of spending time together as a family.
Okay.
So the activity itself may not be as important, but doing it, say, on a whatever your tradition is, weekly, monthly, yearly basis, particularly if you do it as a family, it doesn't have to be a tradition it doesn't have to be a family activity for it to be a tradition.
Right. So when Jonathan is riding the monorail, you're
Yes.
feeling good about that situation because it's solid for him.
I suppose.
Yeah.
Well, and what I have found with my kids is that as they grow older, they have different feelings towards different traditions.
Yes, this is very true.
So my youngest, Meg, who is 11, I would say, is the keeper of the traditions in our family. Not just because she's youngest, but just because that is sort of her mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And so she will remind us we do this every year, even if last year was the first year we did it.
Right. Yes.
And, for your family, there are traditions that sort of fall away.
Yes.
And there are new traditions that come up. And that's neither here nor there, and that's neither good nor bad. It's just what it is.
Yes. To be honest with you, I asked the question because I can't totally pinpoint the value in traditions. Other than, I was trying to reflect upon my own life and going, so we'll take the classic example of the tree. We did a tree every year. It was brought out at a certain time. Dad actually set up the tree. He put the lights on the tree, and then the kids put the bulbs on, right?
Yes.
Or I should say the ornaments.
Right.
We do that exact same thing now in our house. Dad set up the tree. I put the lights on, and then kids and Mom actually put all of the decorations on. And what's weird about it is there's quite a bit of power in it. Like I feel empowered in doing it, and I feel like it's this really strong connection to my past to just kind of carry on this tradition. Does it make me feel better? Yeah, I think it does. But I'm not exactly sure what the big benefit of it is, other than there is this good, strong tie to a past that I have that benefits me as I push on to the future.
Well, I think there's also a sense that, particularly with your kids, if it's a tradition that is a positive tradition, then it is something that they look forward to.
Yes.
Which is good. It's good to look forward to things. It's good to be excited about what's coming ahead. I mean, and that's also sort of your cue sometimes that maybe the tradition is waning a little bit, that maybe it needs to shift a little bit if, say, nobody wants to do it. Now, I mean, parents are sort of in an odd quandary sometimes.
Right.
In that you sort of take the temperature of your kids so that you can anticipate whether or not there's going to be a fight over forcing this tradition or whether they're going to embrace it. I mentioned before the fact that, when we go to Seattle, we'll go to Seattle Center, we'll look at the trains. That was much more intriguing to my kids when they were younger. Now that I have a senior in high school, she's not so much into the trains.
Sure.
She goes, and she doesn't complain about it, but she's not like, oh, goody, we get to go look at the trains again. That's just not where she is.
See, and what'll be really curious to me is to see where she is in, say, 10 to 15 years with her own family, and if she actually goes to look at trains.
Right. And there is a sentimental attachment to certain things, and as you said, you talked about the link to your past. We do certain things just because they have been done before. Dragging a dying tree into your living room and covering it with all sorts of shiny stuff is not necessarily a logical activity, and yet we do it.
Wow.
Sorry, I just sucked all that out of you.
Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas. Enjoy your dying tree.
Oh, wow.
So, I don't know if you know this, but I actually switched religions a couple years ago. Because growing up, I was a born-again live tree person.
Oh, okay.
And then a few years ago, me and the wife converted.
Right.
To the fake tree church.
Oh, guess what we did? We've converted that, but we went a step further.
Yeah.
We went to the small fake tree family.
Oh, see, we went the opposite direction.
we reduced in size.
Well, you've been in my house. I've got vaulted ceilings in my den, so we went for the 9-footer.
Oh, dude, you know what? That's ridiculous.
3 pieces. It sits in the attic. It takes 4 people to get it down.
We could do the 13-footer if we wanted in our house.
It's a
not trying to be boastful or bragful.
No, I know you could. You got the even bigger vaulted ceilings.
But I'm like smaller, teenier. It's delightful and way easier to set up.
Hey, I'd be all over that, but you know what?
There's a tradition. There you go. Every year,
Yes,
smaller
yes.
tree. Dad, why isn't the tree smaller this year? I don't
That's
know.
right.
We should get it smaller. I do like traditions in that there's some sort of solid foundation for children,
Yes.
right? And I think they dig on it. And you're right. There hasn't been a single year that Kayleen has gotten in the car and we do our light hunt, right?
Okay.
We go out, we
Yes.
seek out neighborhoods with lights, and each
Yes.
year she complains, but every year she says she wants to go.
Right.
So weird. Kids, like, I don't want to lose that, but I don't like it. That's a whole nother topic.
It is a whole other
It's
topic.
So strange.
But it's time for an awkward segue.
No, actually, it's not, because things are insane, right? Kids
Yes.
don't make a whole lot of sense, and neither did this show.
Oh, didn't make sense.
Oh,
It made
well.
perfect sense to me.
Oh, did it?
No. But that's okay.
Are you going to say, oh man, I hope you say the Todd thing. I love it when you say it.
All
I
right.
don't know if you will.
All right. The Todd thing.
Yeah.
Do I have traditions in what I say?
You do. When the show is not going the way that it should go.
All right. We watched All Hail King Julien.
We did.
Yes. This is a computer animated television series. It is by DreamWorks.
Mhm.
It is available on Netflix. It is a spin-off of the popular Madagascar franchise, which featured those collection of animals.
They got
which-
penguins. They've got
there's the
zoo
penguin,
animals.
the penguins
right?
is a different spin-off.
Right. They have
The lion and
exploited this
yeah, and the-
particular brand as far as
that
they
sort of thing.
can.
Anyway, this is about King Julien. King Julien is a lemur, and it focuses on him and his followers, which we don't have to get too deep into the minutia of species, but I couldn't really tell what all these various animals were. It didn't appear that they were all lemurs. I guess I don't know if there are. I don't have a deep enough knowledge of the animal kingdom to know if there are lemurs of all shapes and sizes, but it did not appear that he had all lemurs in his kingdom.
I don't even know why we're focusing on that.
Anyway, it's character development. We gotta-
It's character development.
the basic premise. King Julien is a boy. How do I say this? He's kind of a goofball leader.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
He is definitively he is king, and yet he is sort of the
He's the village idiot.
Yes.
At the same time, he's the leader of their people.
There you go.
Due
Well
to
said.
being royalty,
Yes.
right? So he is royalty. So everybody is like, he's the king.
Right.
And-
So we have that contrast that he is definitely in charge, and he seems to be, set in that station in life, and yet he is sort of a bumbler, as it were. And his
Bumbler?
mind is-
No, he's a complete idiot.
Okay, well, I was trying to be nice, but anyway. All right. So tell me about this. Your thoughts on this?
Okay, so yeah, he actually has a lot of advisors that give him advice. Pretty much everybody is vying for his attention because he rules over them, and so they all kind of want a piece of his power, right? He actually has a very higher up advisor that actually goes on vacation, right? Through this plot. So I'm just jumping
Yes.
right into the plot.
Yes.
Because it really is all, I would say there is a common thread throughout the show, but it's a little bit of an insanity the entire way, right? Like all just wacky hijinks. But basically this advisor convinces King Julien that he wants to go on vacation. It's time for him to go on vacation. And King Julien's like, you can't go because really you're my mind. And
Correct.
if my mind leaves, then who knows what could happen. So what this guy does is he said, well, I will bestow some sort of powers upon this pineapple. He finds a pineapple and says to King Julien, this will be your advisor now. Right?
Well, he sort of suggests that he sort of alludes to the idea that the knowledge has always been in the pineapple.
Right.
Sort of this sacred, vessel of knowledge, and so he assures him that this is okay, that
Right.
he
So
is leaving.
he kind of forces it on him. He's like, I'm gonna go on vacation whether you like it or not, and whether you like it or not, the way that you function, this pineapple will help you, right? He obsesses about this pineapple, right?
Yes.
And what? So it's a MacGuffin at that point because it's bound, as the show would go, as any of these kind of stories go. He loses the pineapple, or the pineapple gets stolen, and so he's got all of his people trying to find the pineapple. Right? So, and then the people that are stealing the pineapple think they have pineapple power, and eventually the pineapple actually gains sentience. The pineapple actually does start talking at some point, and starts giving advice to different characters to the show. I mean, this only happens a little bit briefly, but I'm just saying it just kind of goes crazy and all over the place, but it does end up with a moral at the end, which is a realization that King Julien doesn't actually need the pineapple at all to make decisions.
Yes,
but he has to die to do it.
Right? Yes.
He dies. I mean, it's all over the place, right? And there's different weird elements to the show too, right? Like the setting is pretty much them in a bombed out airplane. There's like human skeletons around all over the place, so there's a lot of curios in the background, right?
Yeah, and that's sort of the setting that's similar to the movie too, where they've sort of crossed over into, say, previous human expeditions that crash landed or something like that and left stuff around, and so there's overlap there with the human world, as it were.
Right.
Did you like it?
I think initially, so can I take the Richie Rich angle here? Going back to our previous show,
is there a Richie Rich angle?
There is a Richie Rich angle.
Okay,
here
give me the Richie Rich angle.
Because I had to put my Richie Rich glasses on. I mean, we rated that show well because it just embraces insanity.
Yes.
Right? Richie Rich is just, that show is just about just one crazy thing after another, kind of like that airplane effect.
Right.
And I would say this show has some similar writing to it, some themes. The tone is similar. It's just the village idiot is in charge, and so just insane things are going to occur. My issue with that take on it, though, is that if it was just complete insanity, like say Teen Titans Go, where everybody's a little bit nuts, I don't know why they don't just do that, where everybody's just nuts. Instead, they give the king at least 4 straight men, so he can bounce off of them, and they're constantly trying to vie for control, right? I think the show would have been a lot better had it just been complete insanity versus we're trying to ground him. We're always like the shtick is we're just always trying to ground the king. Where I'm like, you guys, in the end, I just get a bad taste in my mouth because I think all the other characters are just stupid. Even though they're played off pretty serious. And actually, a lot of the characters are kind of likable.
Yes.
Where King Julien is just an idiot, and he's just treating everybody terribly.
Well, I mean, it feels a little bit like this is a court jester routine. Episode after episode after episode.
Yeah.
We can sort of see where this is going. This is not a serialized show. There's not going to be much in terms of character development. There's not going to be any sort of plot going forward. There's going to be something where the king has some harebrained idea. His advisors are going to try to keep him, as you said, grounded. He's going to wander all over the place, and at the end it will all wrap up in 22 minutes.
Yep.
And so I think this is, again, and we've seen this a bunch of times, and this is not unusual for kids programming. This is kind of throwaway television, I would call it.
Yeah.
There's not really anything redeeming. It's not horrible in terms of innuendo, in terms of, I mean, there's some cartoonish violence to it, but it's just kind of there. There's a few jokes. There's a few chuckle jokes. I mean, and even for adults, a couple of the characters are amusing. With some very, very, very thin, subtle references to more adult content. But it's just kind of meh.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And the thing is that what I always have a hard time with these shows is that the effort is all there. It's a well-made cartoon.
Oh, sure.
Right? The voice acting is spectacular.
Yep.
The animation looks like one of the Madagascar movies. Like, it's all up there. In fact, I'm a pretty big fan of DreamWorks. I like a lot of the stuff they do. I mean, we've got Kung Fu Panda 3 coming out, which I'm very excited about. But just to say is like, why? Again, in my opinion, like it sits on the fence. It's a jack of all trade, master of none type situation where I'm like, just go completely insane, or try to make King Julien a way more sympathetic character. Like, there's a reason for his idiotness.
Right, but I don't think you can do that because that's the premise of the character. It's different than, say, the Penguins. The Penguins, I think, is much more clever, but that's because those characters are clever. They are very
Right.
They're put together. They're very polished. They're very confident. They still get into hijinks, but there is a sophistication to them. This is this is the kid in the class that just sort of cracks jokes all the time. And they crack jokes every single day, and so that one moment where they are serious, you don't know who they are.
Right.
You're like, okay, I'm waiting for the punchline here.
So then it begs the question, why even put this show on the air?
Well, I mean, it's and again, and we've talked about this before. I mean, you take a popular franchise, you take side characters. This is they took a complementary character. It works. It works in the Madagascar movies to have sort of this sideshow goofball
Sure.
pop up every once in a while, and give us a different look, and have a couple of different laughs, and that's it. So then they say, well, golly, he's pretty funny, so let's just make a whole show out of him. So this is trying to make something out of a character that doesn't have a lot of depth. And they can do it too, because they've got a popular enough franchise that they can sort of gravy train off the sort of Madagascar franchise, as it were, and say, oh, remember that one character that was pretty funny in a couple scenes? We're going to do a whole series, and it's going to be hilarious.
Yeah, I can see. Yeah, obviously they have the lemur division along with the penguin division, right, versus
Right.
the core Madagascar franchise.
Right. Just like they could take each one of the sort of main characters of Madagascar and spin them off and do their own independent shows or something like that.
Who I actually find way more intriguing. In fact, I'm sure they're going to do more work with the penguins because the penguins are much more interesting.
They are. So.
All
right, I think that's it on this.
I don't know, parenting mistake.
I think the mistake here is to. Well, first of all, I think you see one piece of the franchise and then you just sort of assume the rest of it is fine.
Good point.
Which
You nailed
again,
it. Yep.
it's fine. I will
Yeah.
say that the show is fine. It's not great. It's, as I said, it's sort of throwaway television. It's 22 minutes of a puppet show and some sort of very, very sanitized vanilla moral at the end.
Yeah, I mean
Which
that was
you could have seen in the first 30 seconds of the show.
so right. And there's another angle that you could take is that King Julien actually starts to gain his intelligence, like he's actually growing away from his childhood habits. Because I thought if he has an epiphany moment, wouldn't it be cool if that epiphany moment continued? But I had a guarantee, just in the back of my mind, I'm like, we watch episode 2 and all that stuff is just going to get
it's
thrown
all
out the
going to be
door.
gone. Etch-a-sketch brain.
Yeah.
So you can follow us on Twitter, Parent Mistakes. Tweet the show, because we love to get tweets. And you can like us on Facebook. We have a Facebook page, Parenting Mistakes.
Let's click on it.
Yeah, just click on it. Just like us, because
Yeah.
we love to be liked.
True.
And then you can put comments and you can tell us how terrible we are, and that's okay too.
Or any show. We'll watch any show. I promise you.
well,
Well, okay, yeah. So I say that every time.
You do.
Kids show. Give us a show that's within our genre.
There you go. All right. We are out.